Good morning. This is the 9th class in a series of classes explaining the last Hasidic discourse given by the 6th Lubavitcher Rebbe, the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, which was a direction for our generation, the generation of Mashiach, the generation of redemption. And of course, we know that it all depends on us. So let's see how we can make it happen. Right. Now, we've learned that every Jew is a holy temple, and every Jew as a holy temple has to be active, because the holy temple is a very active place. Especially they made sacrifices there, and there was a fire that came down from heaven in the temple. And also you had to bring a fire from below, fire from above. That is our godly soul. The fire from below is the contemplation that we use in order to understand God better. But then there was another ingredient, and that is the walls of the tabernacle, which tabernacle was the prototype of the temple, were made from wood that was called shittim wood. And this shittim wood, there we go. And this shittim wood was an essential ingredient of the tabernacle. And the shittim wood, says the Rebbe, indicates, it hints at an essential foundation and basic building block of our service to God, of being a holy temple, and that is that you have to have shtus, be crazy. You have to be crazy. If you're too normal, it'll never work. The thing that makes the whole thing work, how do you say, the framework of this is shtus. Excuse me, I'm just trying to find, when I printed this out, I did not, something happened, 1 second. It's a different mimer, totally different mimer. Okay. I don't seem to have it. Here we go. Okay, Gimel. Ubazen, and this Yuvan will be understood. We did this. We're up to here. Okay. So now we'll understand why the Mishkan was made of atzei shittim, because there has to be shtus. There's what we call a normal way of serving God. And then there is a deviation, either way, either above or below, to the left, to the right. That's called a deviation. All right, so here we go. So says the Rebbe, let's first of all talk about a deviation to the bad side, and then we'll get around to the good side. What's commonly found is a deviation to the side of the bad, the side of selfishness. And that is what's called shtus of klippa. Shtus of klippa. And this shtus, it's an insanity of klippa of the bad side. Now what is this klippa? Klippa covers over. Klippa means a shell. It covers over the truth. Okay, let's go. The first word on line is v'kasil. First word on line is v'kasil. The elokus, the godliness, who is emes v'chayim, is truth and life. Really, I don't have any extras. I must have given you. I only have one copy, and I made 9 of each one, so it must be that you have it. You don't have it anywhere? Elokus, the godliness, who is emes v'chayim, truth and life. U'kamoshe katuv, like it is written, v'havaya Elokim, that God, Elokim, God, the Lord, emes is true, Hu Elokim Chayim. He is a living God. Living God. But what God himself, he creates life. He is, in a way, God is life. God is called the life of lives. Chayav, chayah, chayim. The same way as life cannot be defined, but on the other hand, life is what keeps us alive. The most obvious thing there is, that we're alive. So God also. God is the most obvious thing that there is. He creates everything. He enlivens everything. This is Jewish faith. He creates but he can't be defined. Can't be defined. But on the other hand, he is life. God is the essence of life. And the same God who's creating us and giving us life, that is the one who gave the Torah to tell us what to do with this life and why he is creating us. Varuach shtut, but this spirit of insanity, mechaseh, covers al an ha'emet, the truth, va'achayut, and the life, Eloki, of God. Lochin, therefore, Nikra, it's called B'Shem, by the name Klippa. That's why it's called a shell or a covering. And it's part of our personality. Part of our personality is the insanity, I want to call it, that we can choose to ignore God. Now, God is something that is. God exists. So life is something that exists. Torah is something that is. The Torah is freedom. The freedom, we have freedom to choose all the time. That's something that exists. But strangely enough, we can choose the opposite also. Who would want to choose the opposite? It's like a person, you go into a hardware store and you buy a hammer to smash the hammer into your hand. Smash your hand. Who would want to do it? But you can do it. If you want to, you can do it. A hammer can be used to build things. You can also use it to smash yourself if you want. But here it's a little bit of a different thing. Because to build something, you sort of have to make something new. And new. But here, when you're choosing to serve Hashem, in a way you're not doing anything new. You're just choosing the truth. It's something like, let's say, a great scientist, right? A great scientist. Let's say a mathematician, a scientist. He always knows the truth. He knows what's right. Einstein. What does it mean? He invented the theory of relativity? No, he discovered it. He discovered if it's true. If it's true. If it's not true, then he invented it. If it's true, then he discovered it. He just somehow discovered that this is the way the world works. So the truth is there. If you want to attach yourself to this truth, there's a higher truth than a mathematical truth or a physical truth. There's the truth that Hashem wants us to come closer to Him. Hashem wants us to make the whole world closer to Him. Hashem wants us to reveal Him in the world. Hashem wants us to reveal the truth. The same way that Einstein revealed the theory of relativity, and when he did reveal the theory of relativity, now the world can be a better world because we know something that was hidden. Now we can make use of it. Same thing is with us. When a person knows and reveals his connection to God, to the Creator, then your life becomes more alive. You become more practical. You get less angry, you get less depressed, you have less lust for things that are not right, things that less confusion, more practical. So but you have to remove, first of all, the level of klippa. Kamo, just like haklippa, just like klippa, just like a peel. Mechaseh covers al pri, on a fruit. Cain, similarly, ruach shtut, the feeling of insanity. Mechaseh covers, malim hides, umaster and conceals, on or the light, the gilui elokus of revealed godliness. We're on page number 4. The lecheora, that at first glance, how is it possible a thing? I share that. Yavo adam, a person will come liyadei avera, to do a sin. How can a person do a sin? Doesn't make any sense. How can you do a sin? Maybe to go into a hardware store and buy a hand and smash your hand with it, a hammer, to smash your hand with it, that's totally insane. That's a totally insane thing. But Uh, how can a person do basically the same thing and do a sin, go against Hashem? How can a person go against Hashem? A person, there's even people that can, even more, there's people that can even be in the yeshiva. You know, that person is out in the street, there's all sorts of temptations. But a person can be in the yeshiva itself, and he can do sins, he can do averos. Right? He can do it. In the yeshiva, there's Torah everywhere, and there's mitzvahs everywhere, and there's. But how can a person choose to do a stupid thing like that? How? Doesn't make any sense. How can he be, right, to go against the Torah, to go against common sense? How can it? And even not in the yeshiva, even out on the streets, a person that knows about Hashem. You know, we're not talking about here. The Rebbe wrote this mimer for Hasidim, for us. He didn't write it for people who are, so we can point to all these non-religious Jews and say, see, look at this, look what the Rebbe says of you. He's talking about us. How is it possible that a Jew can come to do an avera? What does it mean to do an avera? That he says lashon hora about somebody, that he thinks bad thoughts, he thinks negative thoughts, he gets depressed, he gets angry, he has all sorts of lust, he says things that aren't proper, he does things that aren't proper, or he doesn't do things that are proper, right? When it comes to prayer in the morning, to davening, he just rips through the davening, which we completely forgot about our class that we're going to make of translating. Totally forgot about it. You have to remind me. Class is mainly for Colby. How could, right, that's what he's saying. How is it possible? We're mainly making the class for you, so you're the one that should be interested in doing it. How a person can, he prays in the morning, but he puts on his tefillin, he doesn't care about the words, he just shoots through this. He's doing God a big favor. How can a person come to disregard totally the truth and the warmth and the real reality of Hashem? Hashem is giving us everything just to like spit in his face. How can you do it? Who rak is because is only because she'enu margish, he doesn't feel. Shebezeh, then in this, hu nifrad, he's separate me'elokus from Hashem. I mean, I'm talking like I'm, Mr. Perfect. I'm also, I'm on the same boat as everybody else, but I'm just, at least giving the class. What? I'm not making myself humble. That's also another one of my qualities. Benid me lo, and it seems to him, Asher odenu biyaduso. Person seems to him that he still is a good Jew. Right? He can be that he sits in his room and he watches a video, he doesn't come to classes, or he doesn't daven, he doesn't this. I'm a good Jew as everybody else. I'm a good Jew. Now it's important to him to be a good Jew, right? Because what we have Reformed Jews, Reconstructionist Jews. They're important to them. Judaism is important to them, and they're always telling themselves they're just as good a Jew as everybody else. And if an Orthodox rabbi says that your conversions that you make on people for $10 or $100, whatever it is, they're no good because you're not a rabbi. I'm a rabbi, I'm a Jew, I'm a this. What does he care? He's saying, I'm not a rabbi, I'm not a Jew, so what? Right? If what you are is a Jew, then I'm not a Jew. Right? If you Orthodox Jews, that's called Jews, then I'm not a Jew. People don't say that. They don't say that. I'm not a Jew, right? They say, okay, I'm not a Catholic, I'm a Protestant. Right? I'm not a Protestant, I'm a Muslim. Huh? Right? I'm a Jew. You guys are extremist Jews. Right? I'm a real Jew. I'm a natural Jew. I'm a other Jew. But to be a Jew is important to him. Right? Now, how can it be? If to be a Jew is important to him, then why isn't it important what it says in the Torah? Why not? It makes an answer. It makes a this because who says the rabbis came along and the rabbis, right? Maybe who says the Bible is true, who says Hashem exists, who says this. The Bible doesn't exist and the Torah doesn't exist. So why? I'm a Jew. I'm just as good a Jew as you. Why is it so important to him? Because it's important to a person that he's a Jew. He thinks that he's still a Jew like everyone. That's the Ruach Shtus. That's the feeling of insanity. Right? And it's not only there's a Reform rabbi inside of each one of us. There's even worse than Reform rabbi. And inside of every Jew is a whole world. So inside of every single Jew, there's also Hitler and a Stalin, right? A liberal. Everything is inside a Jew. Every Jew is a whole entire world. The question is what you want to use to listen to your external desires, or go a little bit deeper. Who am I really? Or you want to just, float, take what's easy. says that's called klippa. The fact of the matter is, he thinks he's right. If he knows, S-A-M is the truth, kamoshu as it is, shehu, she'al yadeh, that by means of, ha'chet, a sin, the avon and a transgression. Na'aseh, he becomes, where's number 5, page number 5? He becomes, page number 5, that's this page. I see. Here it is. Page number 5 is on the opposite side of page number 2. Nifrad, he becomes separated, me'alus from Hashem. Here, this one you can have. Here, you don't have any of them? Why? What happened? Hare, behold, lo haya oseh, he would not do. Here, give him this. As the davar avera, sin, Rahman Islam, God forbid, b'shum ofen in any way. If a person would realize that by means of doing a sin, he's separated from Hashem, he's separating from his own life, he's separating himself from good, he would never do it. He would never do it. But what? He thinks there's no other choice. He thinks he has an urge to do something, he does it. The fee, because, but if he would know that there's an alternative, and if he would know that he can do that alternative, he would never ever do the sin. Never. Every Jew would keep Shabbos, every Jew would eat kosher, every Jew would put on tefillin. And if he would know that by doing these things that he's separating himself from God, he would never do it. No Jew wants to be separate from God. Lefi, because shebeteva, that in the nature, listen to this is a big one. Lefi, because shebeteva, that in the nature, call Yisrael of every Jew. Listen to this, how do you say, axiom, this, how do you say, what's the word for it? This given principle, right? The teva, that in the nature, call Yisrael of all Jews, she'eino rotzeh, a Jew does not want, right? This is the supposition, this is the basis of the Rebbe's teachings, of what the Rebbe is saying. This is the basis of Chabad. This is the basis, according to what the Rebbe says, this is the basis of Judaism. This is the basis of Judaism. That in the nature of every Jew, she'eino rotzeh, that they do not want, b'shum ofen, in any way, ve'eino yochal, and they are not able, a Jew is not able, kalal, at all, liyot, to be nifrad me'elokus, separated from God. It's like it's a basic thing of, I guess, society, psychology, sociology, even politics, economy, economics. People want to live. People want to live. It's a basic thing. A human being wants to live. Right? It's a basic thing that people want to live. That's a basic thing of war strategy and this, right? You come with a bigger army or you threaten people, they'll listen to what you say, right? Power politics. It's the basis of psychiatry, that a person wants to commit suicide, there's something wrong with him. Right? There's something wrong with him. A person wants to commit suicide. Right? There's only even the countries where they allow with planned suicides in places, God forbid, right? People, it's only they have to prove that the person is normal, that he's, right? That he's clearly thinking clearly. He wants to commit suicide because he's old, because he's something, right? Which is also not right. I mean, it's also not. Planned. A person wants to live. Says that's a person. A normal person wants to live. A normal person wants to live. A normal Jew wants to be close to Hashem. That's what a normal Jew is. A Jew cannot be separated from godliness. But there are human beings, just like there's human beings who will go crazy and they want to kill themselves. Also, there's Jews that go crazy and they want to separate themselves from godliness. What's the proof? What's the proof that every Jew wants godliness? Where did the Rebbe get this idea from? He just made it up. This is like, Sigmund Freud. He sat in his room, made up these ideas, Oedipus complex. Right? Yeah, it works, but this is not the whole man is pleasure and pain. He made it up. An idea he made up. He tried to stuff man inside of his theory. How did the Rebbe get this thing? Every Jew wants godliness. He wants to stuff every Jew inside of his theory. That every Jew wants godliness. So let Jews be reformed Jews. What does he care? He says, no, every Jew wants to do all the Torah. Every Jew wants to be close to Hashem. Avaraya, and the proof, the kasher, that when Bo, he comes. The Yadei too. Nisayon, a test. Kofimo, so what type of a test? If they force this Jew, Chas v'shalom, God forbid, al inyan, on a thing, shall kafira, of kafira. What's kafira mean, Mendy? Denying Hashem. As then, efshar, it's impossible. Litos, to make a mistake. V'lachshov, and to think. She'eno, that he is not. Naseh, made. Nifrad, separate. Me'alokus, from Hashem. Harihu, behold he. Mashlich, throws. Chayav, his life, mineged, away. Umakabel, and he accepts Allah on himself. Call hamine, all sorts of yisurim, of tortures, chas v'shalom, God forbid. Umoser nafsho, and he gives his life al on kedusha shemo, the sanctity of God's name. Right? When the church comes along, when the Pope or the Tsar in Russia comes along and says, change your religion or we're going to kill you. So the Jew says, okay, I'll change my religion. Don't kill me. I don't want to kill me. Right? So they bring him the statue or whatever, the cross or something like that. They kiss it. He says, no problem. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Echad. I can't do it. What happened? What, you're not normal then? But you're not, no, I don't want to die. Don't kill me, right? Okay, so then just bow down to this thing. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Echad. What happened? At the last second, all of a sudden, he can't do it. Now, of course, there are Jews that did bow down and there were, but generally speaking, if you give the person a choice, either do this or we're going to kill you, then he hasn't got time. His Yetzer Hora hasn't got time. He says, Shema Yisrael. It could be a Jew that's not even religious. But if they come to him and they say, listen, we'll make you a bishop, we like you, come, let's debate, let's understand our religion. Oh, you're such a smart person, you're such a nice person, right? And that's to say that Napoleon succeeded. That's why in Chabad, Rebbe's of Chabad, the Alter Rebbe, the first Rebbe of Chabad, he was totally against Napoleon. He even sent spies to spy on Napoleon. And on the other hand, he helped the Tsar. Now the Tsar was terrible. The Tsar was awful. They had this Russian Orthodox religion, and they tried to force all the Jews. They used to take children from their families when they were 5 years old and put them into the army, right, for training. They would train them, make them eat not kosher food until they got to like 15 years old, and they would put them in the army. They were putting them to their religious schools, and they were awful. They were just terrible. They were anti-Semites, awful. The Russians in general are anti-Semites. But here the whole religion said that you got to be an anti-Semite, got to get rid of these Jews, right? Everybody has to accept the true religion, their thing. Right? They tried to make everybody into their, whatever it is, Russian Orthodox. And nevertheless, but they didn't succeed. They didn't succeed. As much as they tortured the children, they beat them, and they didn't succeed at all. Came along Napoleon, and he said, everybody's going to have freedom. Brotherhood. We're all going to be brothers. We're going to be equal. Right? We're going to be equal. Freedom means what? Freedom from religion. Freedom, you can do whatever you want. What is a brotherhood? Brotherhood means we can all intermarry. We can be equality. We're the same. Everybody is the same. What do you mean? How are we all the same? We have the same desires. We have the same will. We have the same. And what about the Jew has a desire to be close to Hashem? You want to. You're free to do that also, but you're giving up your equality. You're giving up your fraternity. You're giving up your identity, right? You're giving up what is your identity? To be like me, be like everybody. Go to shows, have a good time, right? So the person's true identity is his ability to decide for himself to either come close to Hashem or not come close to Hashem. And how are you going to do it, right? And the Torah has an infinite number of ways you can come close to Hashem. You want to come close to Hashem. But everybody goes to a show, you end up the same person. Everybody has the same desires. It was like in the 60s that they had the big hippie thing. So everybody was hippies and they were all love and everybody was just doing their thing and they were all super egotists. And all that became was just total destruction of the whole thing. It destroyed the whole families, it destroyed people's lives. The people were all taking drugs. Nobody knew what to do. Right? They had freedom to do what they wanted. They didn't know what they wanted. Nobody knew what they wanted. So they just made up things that they wanted. Said the Rebbe that every Jew really wants Judaism. But if the Jew is convinced, little by little, listen, you can listen to your animal soul, be an animal is okay, be an intelligent animal, be a cultured animal, be a sophisticated animal, like the Nazis. Sophisticated, cultured, intelligent, kind to animals. These people were kind to animals. There was no people kinder to animals than the Nazis. They forbid shchita. You can't kill animals. You can't. Ritual slaughtering of Jews, it was inhuman. They forbidden. You can't forbid it. You can't do it. Because they were nice to animals. Animal equality. Animals and humans are the same. Right? Same thing. What is the only difference they say between a veterinarian and a regular doctor is the clientele. It's just the animals are the same. Animals are the same as people. It's just different. This guy's a heart doctor, this guy's an eye doctor, this guy's a psychiatrist, this guy's a cow doctor, an animal doctor. It's the same thing. It's just different little. Says the Rebbe that really every Jew wants to come close to Hashem. And what is Hashem? Hashem is creating the whole world. And Hashem is giving meaning to the world. Hashem gave the Torah. He took the Jews out of Egypt. But there's Jews that what? That the Klippa comes in, right? Napoleon comes in and convinces a Jew, have a good time, do what you want. You don't have to. Who says God even exists? Kain nira b'muchash mamash. We can see clearly that Jews are willing to give their lives for God. Gam even, afilu gam also, afilu even, bedargot in the levels, hapachutot the lower levels, bekal shebakalim. In the simple of the simple. What does it mean, simple of the simple? That they're simple people, they just take life simply. Mitzvahs, Poshi Israel, even people that are the sinners of Israel, they go against the Torah. They go against, there are people that are against Torah, against mitzvahs. The alulim that they are able, and they are likely, alulim, they are likely, limsor, to give nafsham, their souls, to sacrifice their lives, Al on Kedusha Shemo, on the sanctity of God's name. That's like the story I told you about Menashe. I told you the story, right? In Hebron, when the Arabs came around, they were killing people. He was sitting. I didn't tell you this. I'm going to show you. There was in Tafresh Pei Tes. You were in Hebron. Did you see the graves? I told you the story before you went to Hebron. Huh? Did you see the graves? Did you walk around there? Oh, you didn't go. You didn't. No. The Jews, the Arabs and the Jews got along really well at Hebron. They were best of friends. Then all of a sudden, one day, the Arabs announced on their, whatever it was, the Nerets or whatever they're called, come and kill all the Jews. So all the Arabs from all around Hebron came, and they just started killing Jews. They're killing and maiming and hacking them up with this. And the British soldiers were there, and they just stood by. They didn't do anything. So they killed a lot of Jews, I don't know, 80 Jews or something. They killed, and they maimed a lot of Jews. Anyway, there was one Jew there that was like what they call a renegade, Menashe. He was a black sheep of the Jewish community. He didn't do any commandments. He used to be friends with only the Arabs, and he used to drive his motorcycle through the Jewish community on Shabbos. He was, totally not anything. And they would say, Menashe, do tshuva. He would say, I'm just as good a Jew as you. Anyway, the Arabs came and they started killing Jews, and they went to kill them in the streets, and they went from house to house, and they saw him sitting with his friends in one of these houses. And they said, are there any Jews here? And they said, no. They said, well, what about him? We don't. I said, no, he's one of us. I said, okay. And he sort of looked like an Arab. So they went on. All of a sudden he stood up and he ran out in the street and said, I'm a Jew. I'm a Jew. And killed him. Now his whole life he went against the Jewish people. He didn't have any. Now he made the right choice. He chose the winning side. He was on the winning side. The winning side was the Arabs. The Jews. What did he have to all of a sudden say? I'm a Jew. All of a sudden something woke up inside of him. Right? Something woke up inside of him. Of all things to wake up inside of him, they had to, now, wake up. He should have woken up a half an hour later when they wouldn't kill him. Something like that. He should have said, I'm finished with you guys, right? I'm a Jew just like everybody else. Go and live in Tel Aviv. But he couldn't stand the fact that he was living on the merit that he's not a Jew. But he was always saying to himself, a Jew doesn't have to keep Shabbos. A Jew doesn't have to eat kosher food. A Jew doesn't have to put on tefillin. A Jew doesn't have to, right? Those are just, like the Reform rabbis say, right? These are customs. These are things people made up. These are extremists, right? Fanatics. These are religionists. They're wackos. They're not normal, right? But all of a sudden, to live because I'm not a Jew, to live like a non-Jew, to say, to live because I'm not a Jew, it's too much. It's so important. What's so important to you? What do you think? That was the essence of his soul. That's what the Rebbe says. We see that there are Jews that are willing to give their lives, not to be separated from Jews. What about the other things? What about putting on tefillin? That's no less important. It comes from God. It's not just Moses made it up. Right? He had a tefillin business. He wanted it was kept in the family or something. Right? God made up putting on tefillin. The same God who's creating us said that you should put on tefillin. The Eino Rotza, a Jew does not want to be separated. The Eino Rotza and does not want Chas v'shalom, God forbid, lipared, to be separated, me Elokei Yisrael, from the God of Israel. That to do this, liyo, to be, Chas v'shalom, God forbid and God forbid, nifrad, separate, me Elokei Yisrael, from the God of Israel. Ein is not, you with me, Mendy? See where we are? Ein is not, b'ratzo, b'yocholet, in the ability, Shum bar Yisrael, of any Jew. No Jew is even able to be separate from God as soon as he knows he's Jewish. He has to know that he's a Jew. Avobad, Bishari Devorim, and other things, right? In other things, if the person is never put to a test, it is Judaism. Like, for instance, with other things. So he wakes up in the morning, he doesn't put on tefillin. So what? The day went by, big deal, right? Shabbos comes along, jumps in his car, drives. So what? I don't feel anything. Right? Goes to the restaurant, eats not kosher food. So what? So I ate. What's the? Says, and other things, Hainu, Hari, Bishari, Averos, and other sins, Rahman al Hari, behold, Eino Yodea, he does not know. The Eino Margish, and he does not feel. Shenaseh, that he has made al Yedei Zeh, by means of this, by means of the sins. Nifrad, Mendy, you with us? Sure. Nifrad, sit up, no? Nifrad, separate, me'achduso yisbrech, from God's oneness. V'nid melo, and it appears to him, it seems to him, ki, that, even though he's doing all these sins, who he is owed still, biyaduso, he is still Jewish, kasher like he was. How can it possibly be that he does a thing like that? That's the Reform rabbi inside of each one of us. He's a genuine Jew, 100% Jew, and he is. And he's proud of his Judaism, and he cares about it, and he would even give his life for his Judaism. But he doesn't do any of the other commandments. The Torah that was given by God. What is Judaism? Hashem gave us the Torah. What is Judaism? Right? Hashem gave us the Torah, took us out of Egypt, gave us the Torah. The Torah comes from God. It's eternal. It's something that's alive right now. Why does he not do the Torah? Why? Because he doesn't feel it. This comes miruach shtus. This comes from the feeling of insanity, craziness. The man is not guilty. The man is temporarily insane, and it could be that temporarily is even 120 years. Shemechasa, that it covers over al an or the light vagilui and revelation shalo yurgash, but he doesn't feel it. And maybe that person, you figure the Reform rabbi, okay, he's doing what he's doing, and he's successful in it, and he has a big congregation. And so he's got, but what about us? How can us? Here we're learning these Maimorim. We're learning the Maimorim. We're not Reform rabbis. How can we do things like this? How can we be inconsiderate to another person? How can you do it? How can we not care about davening? How can we not care about learning Torah? How can we care? We don't care. How can we? Because we're insensitive. The insensitiveness, right? That's the difference between the Nazis and the Germans today, right? How could it be? The same guys who are the Germans today, it's not so long. This is what, 1 generation, 2 generations, right? The same people, exactly the same people now. They're in Germany now, that are walking around the streets and they're until they can't figure out how to put a swastika somewhere. Is it forbidden? You get put in jail for it, right? And they'll report somebody. They're against it 100%. How could it possibly? They wouldn't dream of it in the Reichstag, whatever it's called. Somebody stand up and say an anti-Semitic thing, unheard of. In Germany, you wouldn't have the people themselves. They're angry, right? They're angry. These same people, 70 years ago, 80 years ago, they were killing Jews, no problem. They were applauding Hitler. They thought it was the greatest idea in the world for all the Jews. How could it be? Because they lost their feeling. They lost their sensitivity. They lost their sensitivity. What is a human being? What is life? What is God? God is creating all these people. How could they lose? Just to kill a person just because he's a Jew. That's insane. That doesn't make any sense. I can understand that they really revealed, yes, this Jewish guy, they really do have a plan. We uncovered it, right? So get all the people who made the plan. Yeah, they have a plan to take over the economy, German economy. They want some sort of a crime. They used to run after old ladies and children and everything just because they were Jews. Just because the guy was a Jew, that was bad. It was the famous thing when they had the Olympics were held in Munich. It was in 1934 or something. I don't know what it was. And there was a guy called Jesse Owens, a black guy, and he won. He was the fastest guy. So guy wouldn't come down to shake his hand. A black guy was black guy won something is better than a German. How could it possibly be a black guy? He was born black. He was born a black guy. You were German because you were born a German. The same God created him as created you. What's the pasha? No, you don't like him because he's dead. Right? I understand if it would like to have a horse running against a man. So you don't shake his hand because a horse has 4 legs. He's faster than a man. It's not fair. It's not fair. Again, I'm a horse running against a man. Right? This is a human being. I think so, something like that. No. War started in 1939. They attacked. Officially, it started in 1939. I think he took power in like 1933 or something like that. 1933 or something. I don't know. I'm not a historian. The ruach shtus gorem lo la'adam. That's what happens is a person loses his feeling. He loses his feelings. All of a sudden, what you can't see that somebody's different than you is also a human being. Why can't you see it? You can't see the good in everybody. The guy's created. There must be some good inside of him. If you see him do something bad, then you have to punish the bad. If they did something bad, so bad that it's warranted a punishment of death, so death punishment. But just because the guy exists, he's different than you. He has a different political party. How can you kill him? It says that's what lack of feeling. That's the whole name of the game here is feeling. Do you feel the truth or don't you feel the truth? Hainu shetoka fachemda, that the powerful desire, betaiva, in like lust, chemda is like lust, and taiva is desire, bechamimus, and the heat, nefesh bahamis of the animal soul, gorem lo causes hakarirus, coldness, the heder ha'ergesh, and lack of feeling, b'inyanim ruchnim, in spiritual things. Right? Why would a person go against Hashem? That's like Napoleon. What did Napoleon say? Napoleon said, have a good time. Right? Have a good time. Why? You can't eat any of this beautiful food. Look at this beautiful food. Lobster, crab, look how tasty it is. Right? The person thinks, maybe yeah, it's tasty. Right? Another guy says, lobster, peh. Who would want lobster to eat lobster? That's the most disgusting, because he doesn't like lobster. That happens to me, he doesn't like it. Right? But he says, what about to ride your horse on Shabbos? Or a horse on Shabbos? What are you, nuts to drive a horse? Because he doesn't like driving horses. But to watch a good play, a good play. Now we're talking. A play? It's not Shabbos thing. But usually a person will if it's a good play, he'll take a cab there also. He has to pay beforehand. Listen, everyone agrees that going to a play will not help you serving God. It's like shaving your beard, right? There's heterim. There's ways you can find it's permissible to do. Yes, there's ways you can find. There's some people to say, but everyone agrees that shaving your beard does not help serve God. Everyone agrees. There's no one that thinks it does not. What? What? Oh, who knows? I don't know. I don't know. I'm not in that issue. I don't know. I think they do it because they want to keep the hierarchy. They want that the rabbis should look like rabbis and the pupils should not look like rabbis. A guy doesn't look. The rabbi is so worried that if somebody else looks like a rabbi, he's not a rabbi. I don't understand that. He puts on a rabbi mask or something. That means I'm not a rabbi anymore. I don't know. As far as I know, beards grow naturally. You don't have to do anything to grow it. You don't have to fertilize it or pull it or something like that. It just comes out. Let's go. Come on. Anyway, says the Rebbe that why would a person want to go against godliness? Because he wants to go for the world. The world impresses him. The world affects him. The world scares him. The world says something to him. He's always worried about what do people think and what am I going to get and what am I going to lose. Perish, the explanation, the Zugibundkeit, the connection, and Sekachkeit, heat, be with us, Mendy. And Sekachkeit, and the heat, and the connection and the heat, this is Yiddish, Inyane, matters, last word in line, Inyane, Chemda, lust, Vataiva, and desire, Biraticha, burning, this Mekarer cools off. Ha-hergish, the feeling. Dem der Herr. Der Herr means the feeling. Un Gefühl, another word for feeling. Be'inyane, der Herr is more intellectual feeling, more awareness. And Gefühl is more emotional feeling. Be'inyanim ruchni, in all spiritual things. He is, azoi fil, so much, ibergegeben, devoted, be'inyane, in matters, tavasov, of his desires, ratzonosov, and his will, hachumi, physical things. Chumi is more than physical. It's more like, how do you say, mundane. Chumri is usually more like pleasure, more crass, low. The gashmi, okay, let's say is mundane and physical things. In other words, the world is so real to him. He gets so much pleasure out of his video or out of his horse riding or his, whatever it is, his brand new car. He remembers to have this neighbor, and when I was young, I had a neighbor. He used to have these two cars. It was in the 60s. He had these cars. They used to make a big deal from cars in America. It was a big thing. Cars. They used to have the huge motors. There was races motors and the convertibles. It was like the top of the world. This guy had like a Pontiac, a convertible, and it was really nice. And he used to go out like every day and polish it like once or twice. And he would drive it around the block. And he would stand by, and he would look at his car. They used to have all these songs about cars, his GTO and his 409 and his this. He used to have all these, cars like a big thing and his hot rods. And this guy used to I saw the look in his eyes, how it was. And then one day he came back and one of them got in an accident. It was like scratched on the side. I saw it was like his baby had been crippled or something. I saw he was just totally broken. The world was so real to him. He got such deep pleasure from this. And it's no different from us, right? How people laugh at my jokes. Ooh, so important to me. It's so important what other people think. How I look in the mirror, so important, right? You get such a pleasure out of it. Right? How your hair looks, how this looks, how your pants are, and what looks at another television program. People live for this stuff. Right? It's the world. That's what keeps them alive. It's what completely kills any spiritual feeling they have. Namely, Shenaseh, that he becomes bilti without margish, feeling klal at all. He becomes totally, how do you say, dead. Ve'enu margish, and he does not feel the noam, the pleasantness, ve'arivus, and sweetness. Mendy, ve'atov, and the good, ve'ilui, and the highness, be'kiyum mitzvahs. He doesn't feel that's not for him. That's not good. What's good is being with his friends, watching a good movie, eating a good meal, and a joke. That's alive. And he's alive. Torah, mitzvahs. Doesn't feel again. He doesn't feel the goodness of being a Jew. V'kein also ein margish. He does not feel hapechistus, the lowness, berichuko, of being far mi'alokus, from God. The Seder, Shenaseh, that's made, al yadei, four more, just the end of this line, al yadei, by means of chet v'avak, a sin and a transgression. But derech klal in general, who kisoy, it is the covering, hanefesh habahamis, of the godly soul, shemechaseh, that covers over, hanefesh alokis, of the godly soul. The animal soul covers over the godly soul. And I'll just tell you one small story. It's a story in the Gemara about Rabbi Eliezer ben Dordaya, the classic case. Rabbi Eliezer ben Dordaya, he had one particular sin that he used to do. You read in the Gemara what it was. It's not so important. He had this one particular sin that he loved to do, and he traveled all over the world to get this sin. Until finally he went to some place, to some island where there was this sin to be done, and he had to pay a lot of money to do it. And he went up, and all of a sudden somebody said to him, Eliezer ben Dordaya, he sneezed. It wasn't exactly a sneeze, another thing. The whole thing is sort of a very crass sort of a story, but he sneezed, and somebody said to him, Eliezer ben Dordaya, just like that sneeze went out, the wind went out, and it's never going to come back in, as the same thing, you went out from God, and you're never going to come back in. You're so involved in the sin, you're never going to come back. All of a sudden, he realized, what have I done? He traveled so far to do the sin, and he paid the money. He was going to do it, and it was a big thing for him. It was the main thing in his life to do this one particular sin he loved. He says he's right. I can't come back. He fell down on the ground. Says he put his head to the ground, and he started crying. He said he cried, and he cried so much, he felt so bad that his soul went out of his body. He died. Says the voice went out of heaven and said, happy are those who can get their world, can go to heaven in 1 minute. Right? Rabbi Akiva said that he was envious of this person. There's a person that he can get his whole life, the world to come in just 1 second. He messed up his whole life. He didn't do any mitzvahs, didn't do anything. It says the voice came out from heaven. It says his name was Rabbi Eliezer ben Daya. He was called a rabbi. Because at the last second he was so. In other words, the essence of his soul was attached to Hashem, but he didn't feel it. All of a sudden, at this second, it was just at the right word, at the right time, at the right second. All of a sudden, he felt it. All of a sudden, he realized his whole life was a big bluff. The whole thing was a big bluff. He had absolutely nothing. He was running around his whole life for pleasures, right? And now, after his whole life was, did he have any pleasures? No pleasures. Well, I don't enjoy anything. I got to do it again in order to have a pleasure. But the pleasures that he got aren't there. On the other hand, the person who goes his life for meaning, to do something good, meaning he has. Meaning is something you can never take away. You accomplished a meaningful thing. You did something that was meaningful. Here he did everything for himself. Where is himself? No self. No. So what do those people say? Then comes the French philosophers. Life is meaningless anyway. There never was any meaning. Just do what you want to. Forget it. There's no heaven. There's no hell. There's no meaning. There's no tomorrow. There's no creator. There's no creation. Everything is just, how do you say, protozoas or something, an arrangement of molecules. Right? There's no real free choice. There's no free will. Just do whatever you want to. The life is but a dream. It's a lie. Right? That's the problem. It's a lie. And Jews know it's a lie. And that was why the Alter Rebbe fought against Napoleon. France. That was the thing of France. Just let the world take you away. But let Napoleon not come in to our yeshiva. Have a good day, everybody.